Hello, I am Andy Green with Green Group Real Estate at Keller Williams Realty Professionals. And I am joined, as always, by Annie Ransom with All Pacific Mortgage.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday. It is another week. And we're very excited to be here with you today. We're going to talk about what's going on in the local real estate market and the local mortgage market and give you local data. Our ultimate goal is to provide you with the news that you can use in order to make smart choices both today and as we continue to move through this whole COVID situation. So last week, I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure everybody is aware of this, but I wasn't here last week. And so we didn't have a live stream. And I'm sure that everybody's like, where's Andy? Where's Annie? Right?
I sure was wondering where Andy was.
Did you get that question a lot? I'm sure that your phone was blowing up. It's like, where are you guys? Why aren't you online?
Yeah.
So I apologize. It was my dad's 70th birthday. And I went on a fishing trip in Hills Canyon in Whitebird, Idaho, and had a great time, caught a 300-pound, 9-foot sturgeon. So I'm just going to check that one off my bucket list.
Love it. Awesome.
Yeah. So much fun. We all need that family time.
That's
and
right.
These milestones in life, it's so easy to get wrapped up in whatever we're doing in business and life and kids and all of that stuff, and not make time for those little moments. And they truly do matter, and they're important to me. So I made time to do that. Glad that I did.
Well, I'm doing that next week, and I'm going to catch a 400-pound sturgeon. Just kidding.
Stop it. You're just trying to one-up me, but that's okay. I'm a competitive guy. I'll just go and catch a 450-pound sturgeon next time.
All right.
Where are you going anyways?
We're just going to the coast for a couple of days.
Awesome.
We wanted to go camping, but I think with COVID, things are just still not quite where with facilities and, all of that sort of thing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have a great time, guaranteed. Yeah. I know it. Feel it in my bones. So let's get after it. Today, we're going to start with the mortgage market, and I'm going to let Annie take over. We've got some slides up here, so let me get to the right one. And Annie, what's going on in the mortgage market today in Portland, Oregon?
So much, right? So mortgages, we're holding steady. In fact, rates are slightly on the decline. We are in a pivotal moment, though, in terms of what's going to happen in the market. It is incredible to me. I've said it on this broadcast, but what I tell people all the time is we're in such a unique time in history where what somebody places on Twitter can affect what happens in the markets. These markets are very emotional, and we're definitely hitting a ceiling of resistance. So for those folks out there who are holding on locking in their interest rate because they think that they're going to go lower, now's the time to lock those puppies. So lock your loan, be happy with these historical low interest rates, and get that transaction closed. Not just for the sake of the market, but for the sake of what potentially can be happening to these programs. So another thing that we've talked about is a lot of these mortgage programs have really restricted what they will allow. A lot of programs have gone away. There's really only a handful of home equity lines of credit left that are issuing loans right now. So it's really, really important to pay attention to all of these things. If you're waiting for rates to go lower, not only may it not happen, but your program could go away. So be really happy and thankful, and let's not get greedy with what's happening in the market. Secure those interest rates and move forward. Same thing with purchases. I'm sure Andy's going to talk about this a bit too, but if you're waiting because interest rates are going to go down or because you think that the housing market is going to decrease, that's not the best strategy to get in and lock in your cost of living, which is the number one reason to purchase real estate. So take advantage of these rates. The national average of a 30-year fixed interest rate today is 3.29. Now that's the national average. Some of those rates are going to be a little bit lower. Some are going to be higher depending on what somebody's qualifications are. But Andy, wouldn't you have loved to have a 3.29% interest rate when you bought that first house?
Considering that my first one was at 7.25 and 3.2, whatever you just said, is significantly less. So I was paying twice as much. Yes, I would love that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The thing is that we have been, and when I say we, I talk about like everybody that has either been in the mortgage market, gotten a mortgage over the past 10 years or so. We have been so spoiled for so long. People think that this is just the norm forever. And could it stay this way for a significant period of time? Of course. Is it going to stay this way forever? No. Like, people just need to wrap their heads around that interest rates are going to go up to 5, 6, and 7% at some point in the future. And to lock in how you describe your cost of living at 3-ish%. Oh my gosh. Appreciate it. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And on that note, there is certainly a level of uncertainty. So the mortgage market is continuing to stay steady. And there's new information coming out about how COVID continues to affect our economy. There are a lot of things affecting our economy right now. It's not just this pandemic, right? There's a lot of things that are affecting businesses politically, from a political climate, from a health organization climate, just all across the board. So doom and gloom in the economy is traditionally good for interest rates. Now, the Fed expects that our economy is going to have a substantial rebound in the second half of 2020. That could change, obviously, because if these numbers of just specifically COVID, if they begin to increase, which there are signs all across the country that is happening, then of course we're going to retract from this rebound. So there's all sorts of things that are going to affect where we see the general direction of things. But overall, doom and gloom, bad news in the economy, bad news for business is good for interest rates, which that's not something that I'm proud of. It just is the way that it is. So for those folks that are in a good financial position, the housing market, Andy's going to talk about that here shortly, really nice and steady. So the fact that the housing market and the the mortgage market has and can support these really low interest rates, it's a prime time to be a real estate investor, whether that means you're investing in your own owner-occupied property or you're investing in a portfolio. So we'll see what happens, but right now it's estimated that over 13 million U.S. borrowers, so folks that have real estate or are in the market to purchase real estate, can save a ton by taking advantage of these interest rates. That's a lot of people that still have not had the opportunity to refinance their property. So we'll see what happens in the coming months, but so far so good. We've held steady. We've been talking about this for a couple of months, and the numbers keep proving what we've been talking about, which has been really great.
So with interest rates where they're at today, what's kind of a general rule of thumb that you would use to say, yes, it is a good idea for me to refi my existing mortgage or not? Yeah,
great question. So generally speaking, if you can reduce your interest rate by a full percent, or you can obtain a break-even point by refinancing in a 3-year period of time or less, assuming you plan to stay in your home for 3 years. So it's really important. We do mortgage reviews, free mortgage reviews for our clients all the time. And what I'm paying attention to is what's the immediate impact, what is the 5-year impact, and what is the long-term impact from 15 to 30 years. Just because your interest rate is lowering or just because your monthly payment is lowering doesn't always mean that it makes sense to refinance. If you're renewing that loan for a 15 or 30-year period of time, your payment might go down, but the interest that you're saving over that period of time may be pretty minimal. So you definitely want to pay attention to all of those factors to ensure that you're making a good, solid financial decision. Don't get caught up with the fact that rates are at 3%. That is only great if it makes sense for you.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
So what do you have in the market? What's going on?
A whole lot of craziness is going on, to be honest with you. Even though I was gone for most of last week, I came back and our team, let's see, I think we put 4 homes under contract, a couple new listings. Some of the homes that hit the market, they sold extremely fast, which let's get into some of this data here, and I'll tell you a couple stories. So May, so we're talking about May. It's right now it's June. So we're looking at May final statistics. New listings were down 30% year over year, which is again to be expected based on what's going on with COVID. But 30%, that is actually a pretty big and significant number, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 30 to 60 days with that fewer listings actually hitting the market. Because if you look at, and when you look at pending, it's only down 5.5%. So new listings are down 30%, but pendings are only down 5.5 year over year. So, what exactly does that mean? It means that fewer homes are coming on the market, and homes are still selling. They're still going pending, and they're still going from pending to closed. So that leads us to our next one. Is closed is down 33% year over year, and only down 2.6% over last month. That's a little odd too. So closed sales didn't go up. They actually went down from last month. So we have closed sales at 33% down. Year to date summary, we're looking at 15% decrease in new listings, pending sales 9%, and closed sales 7%. So overall, I just don't think that we're that far off of where we were last year. Some of the numbers, especially the most recent numbers over the past 90 days because of COVID and everything else that's happening, yes, they've been impacted. But overall, what does this mean? It means that inventory is still really low. We're at 2.3 months of supply. It was at 2.4 months last month. So staying steady pretty much. Last year, if you look at where we were at 2.2 months in April and 2.1 months of supply in May. So it's actually around the same. You go back to 2018 in May, we were at 1.9. So we are inching forward year over year, every year over the past 3 years. So it will take approximately 10 years to get to a healthy inventory level at this pace.
Wow.
If we're looking at every year increasing by 0.2% or 0.2 months of supply, it's going to take us forever to get to a healthy equilibrium. And part of that is that the demand is so great in Portland. Portland is on the radar. People are moving here from all over the United States. They're taking their equity in higher price markets, and they're cutting their cost of living by moving here. And there's so many awesome benefits to living in Portland, Oregon. It's beautiful, the culture, the people. You're close to the beach, you're close to the mountains. You've got everything in Portland. Right. So long-term projections are really, really strong for Portland. So whatever's happening in the here and now, I do believe it's going to be temporary. And we're just not seeing weak demand by any stretch of the imagination. There are a lot of buyers in the market and low inventory. So for sellers, it just puts them in a really, really strong position. And the homes that I see selling the fastest with many multiple offers, some homes are not getting multiple offers. And a lot of them in today's market are getting 4, 7, 15. I've heard of over 20 offers on one property. Are you hearing the same thing, Annie?
Oh, yeah. 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 And, it's so interesting because, I would be curious to know if you know the stat. Do you know how many people are moving to the Portland area?
I don't, not off the top of my head. But that's a good question. We can find out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think it is really challenging right now for folks to be able to take advantage of, these interest rates and, properties. It's a great thing because, supply and demand are what drive any market. And so if you can get into real estate when there is so much demand, it just means that your property value is going to continue to appreciate, it falls right in line with what we talked about with the housing market not being in a recession through this recession, which is great.
Right. So while we're at this, if you have any questions, any comments about what's going on in the local mortgage market or real estate market, we'd love to hear your feedback, your comments. So make sure that you leave a comment wherever you might be watching this, and we'll do our best to answer any of those comments or questions live as we're here streaming. And if not, then we will make sure to go back and make sure that every single question is answered. Okay, so that is kind of the Portland. Two more things. So number one is days on market is 38 days on market. I don't know what it was previously, but I bet it's on here somewhere. I want to say it was like 44 days on market last month. And the month before it was higher. So we're watching a trend of days on market continually decrease every single month. And I believe that that's in direct correlation to the amount of inventory. With less options, homes are going to sell faster. So a question for you though, Annie, in regards to just the overall challenges that we're facing with buyers, because like we work with a lot of sellers. So we're helping people to properly prepare their home for the market, stage it, take great photography, the marketing, et cetera. And then we put it on the market, and approximately 12,000 agents in the market help us sell that property. So I'm not going to say it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, because it takes a much higher skill level in today's market to navigate the tricky waters that we're dealing with in the real estate industry. But the reality is it's easier on the listing side than it is on the buyer side, and you're working with buyers.
Right.
So how are you managing those challenges? And are you seeing a lot of people that are losing out on properties and having to continually write offers and look at houses and find the right home?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yes, I think that the number one piece of advice that we give people is work with professionals, right? And ask the questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask your friends, get on Google, contact Andy and I, whether we're the people you end up working with or not. We're here to be resources for you. But it's asking a lot of questions. So first and foremost, work with a professional. Second of all, when you are on the buying side, there's a pre-approval that goes in place with you being able to dig into the market, and make sure that that pre-approval means something, that somebody has evaluated the loan program that you're going to be utilizing, that they've evaluated the assets or the money that you're bringing to closing, they've evaluated your income, or in very strange times where income is concerned, and how lenders have to qualify or are looking at qualifying income. So for people who have been laid off or on furlough or had gaps throughout the year because of what's going on, that could potentially affect things. So unless you're working with a professional that knows how to identify these things and to give you confidence that if you do all of this work, right? So Andy mentioned 20 something offers. If you're running into that time and time again when you're out there shopping around, it's imperative to know, if I'm going to do all of this work, then I have a loan in place. So making sure that you're asking these questions with folks to ensure that you can be successful once you do make an offer, and know how to make a strong offer so that you can beat out the other 19 people that you're competing against.
Right. I had a buyer recently that was looking in the St. John area, and her price point was at the low end of the price, kind of the average price for that market. And what we kept running into is multiple offers time and time again. And the homes that she was looking at were basically, she was kind of at the high end of her price point.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to tweak the strategy a little bit and say, okay, you can't look at homes that, let's just say 325,000. You need to start looking at 300,000 as your max, because you need that buffer to be able to negotiate. If you're writing offers on a property that's listed at 325 and your max budget is 325, you're going to lose. Time and time again, if you're in a hot area and you're seeing multiple offers more often than not. So once we did that, once we switched the strategy, then the first offer that she made, we were under contract,
right,
within 24 hours, and we beat out, I want to say, five other offers.
That's awesome.
So you're right. You have to have a strategy, and the reality is, in any industry, not just real estate, but not all people are created equal. Not all professionals are created equal. And a lot of people might call themselves a professional, yet they may have only sold 2, 3, 4, 5 houses in their whole career. So they may do their job very professionally, and the experience that they have or don't have behind them can mean the difference between either getting the home of their dreams or not getting it, or having a smooth transaction all the way through, or as smooth as can be, because an agent that's closed 200, 500,000 homes, they've seen just about everything, and they're going to be able to foresee what's around the corner and anticipate it, address it, and hopefully curb it before it even happens.
Right.
So there are a lot of new agents in the market, and you just need to have that experience in order to make sure that you're successful and you're accomplishing your goals. So let's move to the next one. Just a real quick, I wanted to go through a couple of slides that I felt are interesting, and like, I think that people could use this information. So, impact of COVID-19 to real estate showings in North America. This is done by ShowingTime. ShowingTime is a company that tracks showings, so property showings. And if you look at this, starting in January, this trend started going up. And then once COVID hit, showings dramatically decreased, which was to be expected. And if you look at it now, it appears that we're right back on track to where the trend probably would have been if COVID never even happened. So we did bounce back very, very quickly. People do have a sense of confidence. And I think that real estate agents and real estate companies have done a good job of making sure that people are able to look at houses safely. Open houses have opened back up. We've done open houses on our team over the past 2 weekends. So showing activity is dramatically up. And I think that bodes well for the rest of this year. And then look at purchase applications, which is right up Annie's alley.
Right.
And is this what you're seeing, that purchase applications are up dramatically?
Absolutely. Yeah. Applications have really not slowed down a whole lot. As you can imagine, we're of course evaluating refinances and folks that want to enter into the purchase market. So with interest rates sub 4% and almost sub 3%, everybody wants to take advantage of that.
So according to this graph, we are up almost 60%, let's call it 55% from about early April until where we are today. So at the bottom of the COVID debacle, we've come up about 55% in a really short period of time. So April, May, and June, just about 2.5 months. So interesting there. And then I think what people, they may or may not know, is that Gallup does a poll every single year, and they poll people on what they feel the number one investment is in the United States. And dun, 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 what do you know? Real estate comes up on top at 35%. So that's first, comes in first. Stocks are second at 21%, savings accounts at 17%, and gold at 16%. Why do you think people have such a high level of confidence in real estate, Annie?
Because it's tried and true. It's tried and true. But I think there's a lot of answers for that. One, real estate is one of the most tangible investments, right? We live in it, we vacation in them, it earns us income if we can cash flow. But especially in today's marketplace, we're talking about investing in something at a 3% cost. And your return over that is just phenomenal. We're going to beat out stocks, golds, and savings accounts all day long.
Well, when you say that, when you talk about appreciation, does the asset appreciate on the cash that was actually invested into the property, or on the overall value of the property?
Well, potentially both.
Well, you're exactly, not potentially. Well, if they increase, then it is both.
Right.
Why I ask that is that it's not like you're just making, right now, appreciation year to date, I want to say, and it's on one of the previous slides, was about 2.4% appreciation. So you're not just making that 2.4% on the cash that you invested, but it is the overall asset. So if the home is valued at $300,000, then that asset has increased by 2.4%, not just the cash that you invested. So It's just leverage. It's simple leverage.
Right.
And you don't have that in stocks, savings accounts, or gold. The money that you put in is, you get the return on that money, that cash invested, not like real estate, where you have an asset that's valued at $300,000 and you put, say, $30,000 in. You're making that 2.4% on the whole asset, which is awesome.
Right.
Leverage. I love leverage. We have a couple of comments that I wanted to bring up. So the first one is from David. David says, great information. Thank you, David, so much for tuning in. Greatly, greatly appreciate it, and glad that you're enjoying it. And a second one, from David as well. So he asks, what about areas like Ridgefield, Washington? Now, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Ridgefield, Washington real estate, but I do have a ton of partners in the Washington area, and I can almost guarantee that I have a great agent over there that I can ask that question, and I will. I'll ask that question. I'll find out what's going on in the Ridgefield market, and I'll make sure to leave a response to your comment. The tricky part about Washington is, honestly, I checked out of the news probably about 2 months ago. There was just too much negativity going on, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. I needed to get my head right and focus on building our business, helping our clients, and keeping our team moving in the right direction. And so Washington, I believe that they started and they shut down. It's just been different than it's been in Portland. So super hard to say exactly what's going on there, but I will find out for you, David.
They just entered their phase 2 of reopening everything. So I think Washington has remained fairly conservative. They have had stricter rules in regards to showings and things like that. So I can only imagine that their real estate market has faced a little bit more challenges than we have here in Oregon. But a lot of the information that we are talking about, aside from the initial slide that Andy went through, a lot of this is national information. So it's basically what we're seeing across the board, and everything that I talked about was definitely national. So
awesome. David, thank you for asking the question. Appreciate that. And let's move on to the next slide. It's just a continuation of the last one. Real estate at 35% remains the most favored investment to Americans, and has been the case since 2013. Not a surprise there. Solid long-term investment. And here is a graph just showing that. And you look at the funny part when I first looked at this is gold in 2011 topped the charts at 34% and had a huge lead, and it's gone from first to worst.
Yep. And we're seeing it increase again. I've heard a lot of buzz about gold recently.
So looking at real estate, solid long-term investment, a lot of positives to keep people moving in the right direction. And that is going to be it for this week, my friends. We hope that we were able to provide you with some information that you can use to make smart choices as both today and as we move forward through COVID. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. We were getting a lot of comments and feedback every single week about the value that we're providing. So we're happy to do it. And if you have any comments or you have any questions or you want information on any specific topic, be sure and let us know. We'd be glad to throw it in here and answer any questions that you have. So you'll be able to find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Periscope, on YouTube, on Pinterest, on Twitter. We're just about everywhere online at Green Group Real Estate. You can typically find us if you do a search. Where can people find you, Annie, if they have any questions or want to talk mortgages?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me. I'm right here in Tualatin. Stop by and say hi. Plenty of places. But there's all of our contact information too.
And there it is right there on the screen. So if we can answer any questions, we can be of help. That is absolutely why we're here. I hope that everyone has a great week. Annie's going to be gone next week, so I'm going to be flying solo. I will be here. I will be fresh off of a John Day rafting trip on the John Day River here in Oregon. So maybe I'll tell you all about it. I'll show you all my pictures and video. No, I'm not going to do that. But it's a good thought. So thank you everyone again for joining us this week. It was our pleasure. It was a lot of fun, and we will look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye.
Have a great week. And let's try